My name is Sandra Bullock, and I am a 27-year-old who finds peace and purpose working at the local library in a quaint town that's likely off most people's radars. My existence is uncomplicated, perhaps overly so for some, but it suits me just fine. I've always gravitated toward solitude, finding solace in the quiet companionship of books over the bustling noise of the outside world. The library is my refuge, an aging structure with floors that echo with each step and shelves brimming with stories of yesteryears. To me, it's a slice of paradise. Every morning, like clockwork, I unlock the library's doors at 7:00 a.m., flick on the lights, and am greeted by the comforting aroma of books. This daily ritual never grows old. After losing my parents at a young age, my grandmother took me under her wing. She was a beacon of kindness, always nudging me towards the pages of a book to discover and learn. Sadly, she's no longer with us, leaving me to navigate life on my own without siblings or a wide circle of relatives. It's just me, carving out a modest existence. Good morning, Sandra. Mr. Andrew, a familiar face and avid reader of history, calls out as he enters. Morning, Mr. Andrew, I respond cheerily, letting him know about the new history books I'd set aside just for him. His appreciation is evident in his smile and shuffle towards his favorite shelf. My day unfolds in a series of comforting repetitions, assisting children with their school projects, recommending a love story to Mrs. Kimberly, and guiding Mr. Raymond towards the latest in science fiction. It's a serene life, and it suits me well. I relish in the predictability and the routine. But then, everything took a turn with Henry's arrival. He stepped into the library, clearly a man unaccustomed to our usual quietude, his polished appearance and self-assuredness setting him apart. "Can you help me find a book?" he asked, his voice carrying a warmth that felt new and exciting. "Of course. What are you looking for?" I managed, trying to mask my nervousness. He was in search of The Great Gatsby, and as I led him to the classics, our hands briefly met, sending an unexpected shiver through me. It was a fleeting touch, but it lingered in my thought. "Thank you, Sandra," he said, his eyes catching my name tag. I'm Henry. Nice to meet you." Returning his smile, I felt the stirrings of something new. That brief interaction marked the beginning of a journey towards discovering love in the most unexpected of places. I believed it was the start of something that would endure forever, the outset of an adventure that would guide me away from my tranquil existence into realms filled with turmoil and deceit. If only I had possessed the knowledge I hold now, perhaps the story would have unfolded differently. But life doesn't come equipped with forewarnings, and often we're taught our most profound lessons through tough experiences. After our initial encounter, Henry began to frequent the library more often. It seemed unusual because he didn't exactly fit the mold of a typical book lover. Yet, with every visit, he would seek my advice for a new read and linger to chat for a while. On one occasion, he entered just as I was wrestling with a box of newly delivered books. Without hesitation, he offered his assistance. "That would be great, thanks," I expressed, grateful for the help as we shelved the books together. "So, Sandra, what brought you to work in a library?" he inquired. I simply replied, "I've always had a deep affection for books. They're like steadfast companions, and besides, I cherish the tranquility here." His laughter echoed lightly. "I can see that. It feels like stepping into another realm." Our conversations began to stretch longer with each visit. I learned that Henry was involved in his family's business, something related to real estate. He was remarkably easy to talk to, and for the first time in a long while, I felt genuinely seen. Then, unexpectedly, he extended an invitation. "Sandra, would you be interested in having dinner with me tonight?" he asked, hope flickering in his eyes. The proposition caught me off guard. "Like a date?" I clarified. "Yes, exactly like a date," he affirmed with a smile. I hesitated, unaccustomed to such propositions, yet something about him prompted me to accept. "Okay, sure. I'd like that," I agreed. We dined at a modest yet inviting local restaurant. It wasn't lavish, but it radiated warmth. We conversed about a myriad of topics, and for a brief period I set aside the solitude that usually enveloped my life. As we walked home, Henry shared, "I had a really wonderful time tonight, Sandra. You're quite unlike anyone I've met before." Unsure of how to reply, I simply offered a smile. "I'd love to see you again if that's all right with you," he continued. My response was a nod, accompanied by a soft "yes, I'd like that." Our relationship progressed steadily from there. We would go out for meals or enjoy leisurely walks. For the first time, I felt connected to something beyond my world of literature and silence. It wasn't long before I found myself deeply enamored with him. Henry was charming, attentive, and had a way of making me feel uniquely cherished. When he proposed, I responded without a moment's hesitation, yes. Reflecting on it now, I wish I had been more perceptive to the subtle hints that all was not as it seemed. I wish I had seen through the allure earlier, understood that the charm was merely a facade hiding something far less appealing. Love, with its blinding brilliance, often makes us overlook the red flags, convincing us to see only what we want. In my case, I believed I was deeply in love with Henry. Or at least, that's what I thought until the dynamics began to shift after our engagement. The first signs of trouble appeared with Henry's parents. From the outset, they made it clear they disapproved of me. They viewed me as unsuitable for their son, primarily because I didn't hail from a wealthy background. My first encounter with them was during a dinner at their lavish residence, a stark contrast to my simple world. "Sandra, this is my mother, Michelle, and my father," David, Henry introduced. I mustered a smile and greeted them. "Nice to meet you," despite feeling incredibly out of place. Michelle's gaze swept over me, dripping with judgment. "So, you're the girl from the library?" she asked. "Yes, I am," I responded, my confidence waning under her scrutiny. David's remarks were even more cutting. "Couldn't you have found someone more suitable?" he said, making me wish I could disappear. The dinner felt endless, a clear exhibition of their belief that I wasn't worthy of their son. Yet Henry's defense of me in those moments only deepened my affection for him. As the wedding approached, they insisted on a prenuptial agreement, claiming it was a mere formality. Having little to my name, I consented without protest. Following the marriage, I moved into what was technically Henry's house, a gift from his parents, yet they behaved as though they still owned it. Their unannounced visits became a regular occurrence, with demands thrown at me the moment they entered. "Sandra, make us some coffee," Michelle would order, and I complied silently, aiming to avoid conflict. Michelle would often remind me, gesturing towards various items like the TV that, in the event of a divorce, none of it would be mine. It seemed everything was a constant reminder that I didn't belong. Henry began to transform as well, his warmth fading into a coldness I hadn't seen before. He joined his parents in their taunts. One evening, as I deliberated over what to wear to a family gathering, seeking his advice, his response was cutting. "This one makes you look less drab," he joked, laughter in his voice. I was taken aback by the sting of his words. It felt as though he had become another person in the presence of his family, no longer the supportive partner I had fallen in love with. Instead, he echoed their ridicule, leaving me to fend for myself in an increasingly hostile environment. Life in that house became a daily struggle, a constant reminder of how distant my reality was from the love and acceptance I once believed I had found. Feeling like an intruder in my own life, I clung to the hope that circumstances would improve, but instead, they deteriorated. The pressure was immense, manifesting in severe stomach aches I tried to dismiss until one day I fainted at the library. Regaining consciousness in the hospital, the doctor attributed my collapse to stress. During my stay, Henry was conspicuously absent, neither visiting nor calling, amplifying my sense of isolation. Unexpectedly, a notary arrived at the hospital with astonishing news. A great-aunt, whom I scarcely recalled, had bequeathed me her estate, valued at $50 million. The revelation was staggering. Overnight, I transformed from the library girl to an heiress. Henry and his parents' attitude shifted dramatically upon learning of my windfall. They were all sweetness and warmth during their hospital visit, feigning concern and solidarity. "We're a family and we should support one another," David declared. However, their sudden change of heart was unconvincing. Their true motives were inadvertently revealed to me. Overhearing their conversation outside my hospital room, their words were a bitter pill to swallow. They saw me as naive, a stroke of luck to be exploited, with suggestions of tying me down further by having a child. Their duplicity made it clear they valued my fortune over me. It was a pivotal moment, sparking a resolve to break free from their grasp and reclaim my life. Upon my discharge, I returned home to find Henry and his parents waiting, their facades of concern as transparent as glass. "Oh, Sandra, we were so worried about you," Michelle proclaimed. I maintained a facade of normalcy, cautious not to reveal my awareness of their true intentions. Henry's inquiry about the inheritance was tinged with greed, a stark contrast to the man I once thought I knew. "Soon," I responded, "but it's nothing for you to concern yourself with." His feigned unity, suggesting what was mine was also his, didn't fool me. That night, haunted by their deceitful voices and insatiable greed, I couldn't find rest. Motivated by a newfound clarity, I began to draft my exit strategy. My decision was firm. I would no longer be a pawn in their game of manipulation. It was time to stand up for myself, to step out of the shadows of their expectations and into the light of my own future. With a plan taking shape, I was ready to confront what lay ahead, armed with the courage to change my destiny. Putting my feelings and experiences onto paper felt like releasing a torrent of suppressed frustration and pain, a cathartic flood that had been building up for years. The next day, I sought the counsel of a lawyer, laying bare the entirety of my ordeal and presenting the prenuptial agreement. His astonishment was palpable, yet he confirmed the document would shield me, reinforcing that I was making a wise decision. Upon my return, I found Henry and his parents in the living room, their gazes lifting to meet mine as I entered. "There she is, our brave girl," David remarked, his smile lacking any genuine warmth. Holding my purse close, I gathered my courage. "I have something to say," I began, their curiosity piqued. "I'm filing for divorce," I declared, my voice unwavering. A heavy silence fell over the room, broken only by Michelle's incredulous response and Henry's plea of disbelief, asserting their love for me. "Do you, Henry?" "Because all I felt is exploitation," I countered. Michelle's anger was palpable as she threatened legal action to claim half of my inheritance. In response, I produced the prenuptial agreement from my purse, stating clearly that it prevented either party from laying claim to the other's assets in the event of a divorce. Their speechlessness was a novel experience for me, offering a moment of empowerment. I announced my intention to leave, forbidding any further contact, and walked out, their angry shouts fading behind me. Driving away was challenging, yet as I put distance between myself and the house, a sense of liberation enveloped me. For the first time in ages, I breathed freely, hopeful for a future brighter than my past. I moved into a modest apartment in the city. It wasn't luxurious, but it was unequivocally mine, bringing me a peace I hadn't felt in years. While I navigated the divorce proceedings, I felt fortified, capable of facing the process head-on. Then, a call from my lawyer unveiled another layer to my great-aunt's legacy. The will stipulated that a portion of my inheritance be allocated to charity, a reflection of her philanthropic spirit. This revelation took me by surprise, igniting contemplation about the potential to effect positive change. It seemed my great-aunt had not only bequeathed me a fortune, but also the opportunity to contribute to the greater good, propelling me towards a new and meaningful chapter in my life. I began to delve into charities and causes, eager to contribute to something impactful, something that could truly bring about change. During my search, I came across a modest organization dedicated to assisting women affected by domestic abuse. This cause resonated deeply with me. I reached out and arranged a meeting with them. The person I met, Patricia, was incredibly passionate and committed to the cause. She outlined the services they provided: shelter, legal support, and counseling for women in dire situations. Her stories touched me, and I felt a strong connection to their mission. "I want to help," I declared, motivated by a newfound purpose. Under Patricia's guidance, I allocated a portion of my inheritance to establish a new shelter. The sense of fulfillment I felt in aiding other women to find their way out of darkness was indescribable. A few weeks later, Patricia invited me to the shelter's inauguration. It was a modest gathering, yet it brimmed with hope and gratitude. Among the attendees, I recognized Emily, a former colleague from the library. "Sandra, is that you?" she inquired, surprised. We embraced, and I shared with her the story of the shelter and my involvement. She was visibly impressed. "That's incredible, Sandra. I had no idea," she said. Reconnecting with Emily felt rejuvenating. It was as if the pieces of my life were starting to realign. As the event concluded, Patricia expressed her heartfelt thanks. Observing the women who now had a sanctuary, I felt an inner warmth, a profound satisfaction I hadn't experienced in years. Engaging in the shelter's day-to-day activities brought me a genuine sense of fulfillment, a feeling that I was finally embracing my own path. Then, unexpectedly, Henry called. My heart fluttered with mixed emotions, but curiosity prevailed. "Hello, Henry," I answered, striving to maintain composure. He sounded urgent, desperate even. "Sandra, I need to talk to you." "Can we meet?" "It's important," he said. Despite my reservations, I agreed to meet him at a public coffee shop, seeking the security of a familiar environment. Facing Henry, I noticed how much he had changed. He appeared defeated, almost pitiful. His eyes conveyed a deep sense of regret. "Sandra, I have made a tremendous mistake," he confessed. "Henry, I want you back." "I've realized the void you've left," he hastily confessed. His words barely stirred me, leaving me cold with disdain. "Why now, Henry?" I inquired, skepticism lacing my voice. He exhaled deeply, attributing the failure of our marriage to his parents' interference and his own shortcomings. "I was under their influence, but I've grown since then," he claimed. My frustration surged. "You let them demean me," joined in their mockery, I countered, recoiling as he sought my hand. "Please, Sandra, I acknowledge my faults." "I've transformed," he pleaded. Yet, looking at him, the man I once cherished was now a stranger to me, my feelings replaced by sheer disregard. "Change or not, Henry, it's too late." "My heart harbors only disdain for you," I stated, his countenance dropping momentarily, revealing the person I once committed to, a fleeting image. "I'm sorry, Henry, but I've moved on. My life now has direction, a purpose you're no longer a part of," I declared with conviction. He accepted my words with a resigned nod, understanding the finality of our chapter. Exiting the coffee shop, a sense of closure enveloped me. That chapter was conclusively closed. The subsequent day marked a celebration at the shelter, honoring a local artist's donation of a sculpture for our garden. Amid the gathering, a profound sense of community embraced me. Emily, my former library colleague, complimented the profound impact of my efforts. The unveiling of the sculpture, a figure of a woman reaching towards the sky, symbolized hope, resilience, and new beginnings, eliciting a wave of applause. In that moment, harmony pervaded, a testament to the journey and the support surrounding me. Patricia approached, her words resonating with optimism. "Sandra, this is merely the start. There's boundless potential for what we can accomplish." Surveying the hopeful faces, I recognized the truth in her statement. This was indeed my new beginning, a chapter I was eager to delve into with all my heart. Embracing my new role, I immersed myself in the shelter's daily operations, each day presenting its own set of hurdles and victories. My self-assurance flourished, and for the first time in a long while, I felt master of my fate. Engaging in self-defense classes, an endeavor previously unimaginable to me, became a new part of my routine. As I departed from the shelter one day, outside I noticed a car parked near the entrance. It was Michelle, my former mother-in-law, exiting the vehicle. Her approach was hesitant, her tone softer than I had ever encountered. "Sandra, we need to have a conversation," she implored. I stood my ground, feeling an unwavering steadiness in my voice. "I have nothing to discuss with you, Michelle. Please, just listen to me. I've come to see the error of our ways," she pleaded, her demeanor hinting at sincerity. Despite her apparent remorse, the scars of past torment lingered. "What is it you want, Michelle?" I asked, skepticism shadowing my curiosity. Her next words were unexpected. "I want to apologize. My actions were inexcusable, and they've cost me my son. I don't wish to lose you as well. In many ways, you were like the daughter I never had," she confessed, tears glistening in her eyes. A flicker of sympathy stirred within me, swiftly quelled by the memories of her cruelty. "Michelle, your apologies cannot undo the anguish you've caused. I've moved past it, and I suggest you do the same," I asserted, distancing myself as she reached out. "Please, Sandra, I can't change what happened, but I'm here to make amends," she insisted. "It's too late for amends, Michelle. Goodbye," I concluded, turning away from her lingering gaze, a firm reminder of my newfound resilience. The following day brought an anticipated challenge, a letter from Henry's attorney disputing the divorce settlement. Unperturbed, I consulted with my lawyer, Rachel, a tenacious advocate. "Henry has no grounds to contest, Sandra. The prenuptial agreement is unequivocal. He's merely attempting to intimidate you," she reassured me confidently. "I'm no longer intimidated by him." "Let's proceed," I declared, emboldened. Court day arrived, and I entered, poised and determined. Henry and his counsel were present, our eyes briefly meeting, a fleeting reminder of the love that once was. The judge's verdict was swift, upholding the prenuptial agreement and dismissing Henry's claims. A wave of relief and vindication washed over me. Afterward, Henry sought closure. "Sandra, I'm truly sorry for everything," he murmured, regret lacing his voice. Facing him, I recognized the man I once cherished, yet my feelings had irrevocably changed. "Goodbye, Henry. Look after yourself," I responded, my parting words marking the end of our shared narrative. As I departed from the courthouse, a profound sense of liberation accompanied me, signaling not just the conclusion of a legal battle, but the commencement of a new chapter in my life, one filled with autonomy and purpose. A feeling of finality washed over me, signifying the end of a tumultuous phase and the dawn of a promising new era. At the shelter, we threw ourselves into organizing a fundraiser, an endeavor that commanded my full focus. The community's overwhelming support filled me with a profound sense of appreciation. On the night of the fundraiser, the atmosphere was electric, with a diverse crowd gathered to champion our cause. It was a moment of reflection for me, recognizing the journey I'd embarked on from being a reserved, hesitant individual to becoming an empowered advocate for myself and others. "Sandra, you've outdone yourself. This is remarkable," Emily exclaimed, approaching me amidst the festivities. My response was a heartfelt smile. "We accomplished this together, and there's still so much more ahead of us." As the evening progressed, I basked in the fulfillment and purpose that now defined my existence. This new chapter wasn't just about overcoming past adversities. It was about thriving in a role where I could make a meaningful difference. Surrounded by the energy and support of the event, I knew I was precisely where I belonged, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead with the same determination and resilience that had guided me this far.